Hey, a lot of us have performance goals, but we don't have the identity goal to back the behavior change. And so he says that if you have a performance goal, like get elected to this or run this many miles or lose this amount of weight or whatever it is, that's fine. But the motivation to do that will be minimal and they won't actually tell you how to get there. But if you have an identity goal and you believe you're the type of person to achieve that, then the behavior will follow and the outcome will take care of itself.
Welcome to the Cultivating Leaders Podcast, where we get inside the minds of leaders to harvest great ideas and lessons that help you grow as a difference maker in food and agriculture. I'm your host and curiosity captain, Nicole Ursig. True leadership isn't measured by how many people you manage. It's measured by how many leaders you create. Today's guest is someone who has dedicated his career to that very mission. Jason Wetzler has spent thousands of hours training, speaking, and mentoring future agricultural leaders to discover their voice and refine their impact. With a passion for making lives better, he sits at the unique intersection of storytelling, purpose, and leadership development. Jason, welcome to the pod.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited that we get to do this because sometimes when we have guests on this podcast, like this is the first time I've met them, and you and I, met when we were teenagers?
Yeah, I think our first interaction, were you at that day at the Capitol in Salem when we went and lobbied? Oh, maybe that's just Caleb. We were talking about which teammates because there was like 4 of us there. But yeah, when we got elected state FFA officers and then got thrown into our personal cars and were told to drive 100,000 miles around Oregon in a year. And yeah, there were some moments. Yeah,
There were. I think what is fun about this is that was 15 years ago?
we don't have to say that.
We don't have to say how long ago it was.
You know?
But like you and I got to be young leaders together, and now to see it like come back around and us be in the industry together in very different aspects of it is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Jason, I gave a little bio, but explain what you do today as a motivational speaker, as a facilitator. Tell us about your journey.
Yeah, I think the motivational speaker phrase or title is probably the one that most people understand. But I would say like what Tony Robbins does and what John C. Maxwell do are very different. What I do and maybe what my colleague Kelly Barnes does is very different. So there's people that, in my industry are just keynote speakers. There's people that are just write curriculum or just do small group trainings. I dabble in a little bit of everything. So last week I was at another national organizations convention where I was managing the workshops. And so my entire job was we wrote 15 hours of content, 15 1-hour sessions. There was 8 workshop rooms. We had to hire the facilitators, and then I just oversaw that process. So I didn't interact with the participants or learners at all, right? Today, the keynote speaker this evening, so for the opening session, and so that'll just be a 45-minute me audience, right? And so that's kind of that interaction. So I enjoy all of it. I'm not sure what I'm best at of all those things, but everything from curriculum development, small group trainings, one-on-one coaching, keynote speaking, that's kind of my world. I kind of say what I do exists the cross section of entertainment and personal development. So if it helps make you better in one way, shape, or form, and it's engaging, then I want to be a part of it.
Yeah, yes. And I can verify that you are engaging and entertaining. For anyone who's listening, we are recording this at the AFA Leaders Conference. So when you say you're going to speak tonight, he will be our keynote speaker. Jason, is this what you wanted to do when you grew up?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember telling my mom we had just moved to Canby when I was 5. My parents were going through a little bit of I think they called it a divorce. And so we went with my mom to Canby and we're living there, and they said there was a community talent show. And I think it was for adults, but I was like, I want to audition. And so I remember they put me in like this top hat, and I had a cane and like a suit with tails on it, and I told like knock jokes out of this book I'd gotten for Christmas. And I remember I was holding the microphone, people were laughing at me, with me. I didn't care. There was a reaction, right? And I was like, oh, this is it. And so they actually let me help MC the event with the adult MC. And so we kind of tag teamed it, and I told jokes between acts. But I remember that was the first time I got to hold a microphone in front of an audience. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, I don't know, this is great. And I think part of that was I just love being the center of attention. So maybe that's, hand up. Okay. I'm a little self-aware.
Hey, you got to know who you are.
Yeah, a little self-awareness, but more so that's transformed into, hey, there's power in what we say and how we say it. And if we can be the one contributing a positive message when there's a lot of people contributing maybe not so positive messages in the world, I found that place for myself. So yeah, that's kind of wanted to do this since I was 5. Yeah.
Oh, I love that throwback. Why do you think agriculture needs people like you, or the role that you play?
The role that I play. Yeah, I would say people like me I think any more, my wife would tell you it's probably too many. But I think speakers, it's so funny when I got into this, I thought it would be a competitive industry. And the people that do this full time were so welcoming to me and so warm and immediately like, hey, I'm not available for this gig, but this new guy Jason's trying it, right? And this is when I went full time after my botched career in ag sales. And so um, it was just really cool to see. Okay, so there's always a need. So I was like, okay, there's enough to go around, right? And I think too, if people want to get better and if they want to grow, they're going to seek out those opportunities. And the more people that do that, there's going to be more opportunities. And so, why do we need personal development? Well, there's always room to grow, right? As individuals, as organizations. If there's a problem that exists, a lot of times my wife would say it comes back to people and not necessarily product or organization and so how we communicate with each other, um, what we say, all those things matter, and you can always improve those things. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of us can continue to grow in the way we communicate, talk to each other. And often we need like a positive message or someone to make us laugh or think about things differently. It's even what we do in this podcast, right?
Well, and I think too, sometimes what we say what we do is, okay, I'm going to help you create tools to start a movement. And sometimes we're just living for the moment, right? So a lot of speakers will have, hey, I'll come back every 3 months and I'm working with the organization like a consultant, right? A lot of times what I'm doing is just, hey, let's create an hour-long experience no matter what's going on in your life right now. This is a positive experience for you. And yes, I want you to go away with something. There's going to be actionable tools for you to use in your life. But so a lot of times it's, hey, we're in this room together. Let's have a moment where a lot of times technology rules our life. Let's just be here together and present. And I think that can be powerful too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I know tonight you're going to talk to our industry folks and our students about success. What tools do you have to help define success?
Oh, so actually, I kind of, part of this, my keynote I'm still working on, if they were to say, hey, you have 2 hours to give a keynote, which it's way too long. No one's going to sit still for that long. I wouldn't. I would add in that part of, hey, let's work through our definitions of success. Or if I was going to do it, accompanying workshop, I'd probably do that. In the keynote this evening, I kind of leave a cliffhanger of asking them how they define success and then say, and that's, up to you, but hey, let's talk through some other things. But as far as, I think if I was going to define success, I would say make a list of the things that you truly couldn't live without. And I want to remind people that there's people that live without cell phones. My grandma's never had a cell phone. She's 96. There's people that live without Ed Sheeran. Okay, that's a better example because you're like, oh, she didn't know what cell phones were, and she's blind, which are both true. But like that's but Ed Sheeran's had to have a cell phone in 10 years. Okay, biggest pop star in the world.
One of the, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, all right, Taylor Swift. I get it.
We got a lot of Swifties that listen to this podcast.
Well, all right. Well, we can find me in the streets after this. Okay, but and so there's things that we think we need that we probably don't. So really ask yourself, like, do I need this in my life? And there's this person that I would recommend listening to. It's going to have way better tools than I am. They call him the professor of happiness, and he at Harvard Business School. And his name is Arthur Brooks, and he has a lot of really great content. And he has 3 pillars of a meaningful life. I would just look that up. And I think and I think one of them is relationships, purpose or meaning. Oh man, what's the last one? And there's another one. And I would say, okay, in those categories, make your list, right? The things that give you meaning and purpose, the relationships that matter most to you. And then I would say, like, am I investing in these or am I letting these things ride? Because I think a lot of times when we get busy in our career, we begin to invest in our career and we invest in our hobbies and we invest in our health, sure. But then we look over and like, oh, wait, the things that's actually a pillar of happiness based on this research we've neglected, like our spouse or our kids or our parents. And, I'm at an age now where my parents are getting older. I actually just had an incident with my dad this week that was a health scare. And I was like, man, have I been investing in the relationships? I had a 6-hour drive yesterday. I just listened to a podcast because that's what we do. Should I have called my dad? Should I have called my grandma? Like, what's 20 minutes to me on a 6-hour drive? And I just didn't. So asking yourself what matters most to them, I invest in these things. And I think your definition will start to become clear. And then how do you live out that definition? What's the next step?
Yeah. I think so many of us are taught too that success looks a certain way, whether that's status or career or job title. How do you balance that of like what we think success looks like versus what the things that you're talking about in success and actual happiness are. You didn't mention any of those things.
Yeah, I remember in getting caught up in that. So I had my first corporate job right out of college, and I remember my like career planning sessions with my managers or bosses or other people, and they're like, okay, so what's your goals? And they literally would have like a list of titles that like, this is your goal as an employee, as if moving this direction would make you more successful. And it's interesting, those conversations, like even the conversation I had with my new hire cohort would be like, which one of us is going to be in the C-suite? And like, that was literally like the conversation we'd have, because it's exciting, and there's nothing wrong with career progress in that way.
Yeah.
However, I know people that are CEOs of companies that I would consider very unsuccessful.
Say more about that.
I mean, I don't want to tell his story, but there's a mentor of mine I've known for a long time that was at the C-suite level with an agricultural organization, uh, did everything you could do, lived in all the countries, did all the jobs. People graduating college would probably be like, they would go to this person and say, hey, how did you do this? I want to do this. I want to do this. And he would say, hey, stop. Because guess what? 2 failed marriages, kids that were estranged for a period of his life that he missed out on. And he's like, that, my life is unsuccessful up to this point. And then I changed it, turned it around. Right. So again, how do you define success? Yeah. The other thing I think we measure a lot right now, and the other day I was asking someone about a speaker that was speaking at an event that I was working at. I was like, oh, I don't know her. Have you heard about her? She goes, yeah, I hadn't heard about her either, but she's got like 30,000 followers. So probably, I was like, I know complete degenerates that have 30,000 followers that no one's kids should listen to. That, and so it's just funny how we measure success based on these metrics that have really only been around for 10 years. And again, let's go back to my grandma Dorothy. She's 96. If I were to say, Grandma, would you trade any year of your life for 30,000 Instagram followers? She would say, what's Instagram? You know what I mean? Like, legit. So I don't know. To me, it's so easy to get caught up in those things because that's how we perceive the world defining success. But I think we just have to stop ourselves and say, hey, there's a different way to measure it.
I think there's a difference between status and success, and often we mix the two together. And a successful life, you can have a successful life without status, and status can be a part of a successful life too.
100%. Yeah, I know people that have status, in their organization, and I think too, if you're going to use it as a measuring stick, that's fine. But I want you to use it in every area of your life. Okay, your status at work should probably be equal to or lesser than your status in your home, right? Do your kids see you the same way that the new hires do? And if not, then have fun with the new hires, I guess, like hanging out with them, right? Like I don't know. I just feel like there's so many areas of our life. I mean, the CEO of the company I worked for is Jeff Simmons, and he was such a great example of a leader, and had some examples from him. But he would say, his rule was he'd go home 6 o'clock and he left his phone in his car. And he goes, now I went back like hands trembling at 9 p.m. Like, what have I missed, is the world over? But he said it was just, that was that sacred space. I can tell you from speaking, like, his kids do respect him, right? They do have that relationship, and the status for him, he was CEO of the company, but he's CEO of the household as well, and a respected one and a loved one. So
Yeah. I think so often as we like start our leadership journeys, and you and I had a very similar start of like FFA, like you gain status in this organization, you're expected to go into industry and do XYZ or whatever. But I'll be honest, one of the things that as I look back on my own career, I had a moment in my late 20s where I realized I love this job, but I hate my life. And like, how do you, like, we aren't taught to think about like, what kind of life do I want to have? And then where does my career fit in? I still love my career. I love working in the industry, but it's a whole like reframing of what does a successful, fulfilling, happy life look like?
Yeah. My buddy Trent says, are you living to work? You working to live, my man. And, for him, he has a job that he works in back end IT for a big health company. He's like, this job is, anyone can do this with this skill set. I'm replaceable. It allows me to live my life in a way that I love, and that's what I want to do. So yeah, I would say I'm more of I'm a working to live kind of person. Granted, I have a very unique role where I feel very alive when I'm at work. Does that make sense? So it's, I say that not to like, oh, I hate what I'm doing, I'm just putting the hours in. That's not true at all. But I would say if I had to choose one or the other, I would say I'd rather work to live than live to work. But
yeah. My husband also says that he's like, there's two kinds of people in the world. Exactly what you said. Those that live to work and those that work to live. And we often joke that like he is a work to live person and I am a live to work person. I love it. I love my job. I get fulfillment from it. I enjoy working. And I think there's fulfillment from that. But I don't like the word balance because I don't know that it's ever balanced necessarily, but it is having the right priorities.
Yeah. Well, and going back to Jeff Simmons, he always said like there's no work-life balance. There's just life. There's gonna be things that were times you're giving 90% for 3 months to your career, and just having that awareness of, hey, we should rebound a little bit and take some time off. It's the whole idea of unlimited PTO is so funny because we know the research says people just take less when they have that option because you feel guilty. And so that's just a statement about America's mentality around work. Okay, we feel like we should be working. And a lot of people, I think you're right. They do find fulfillment from their job. One of the things I talk about sometimes in my keynotes is, if something can be taken away from you, it's not your purpose, right? So if you could wake up tomorrow and your job is gone, it's not your purpose. And I hate to tell you that, but like, especially people that are, I don't say first responders, military, agriculturalists, farmers. I mean, there are some of the worst of them, right? Because they feel like they say, my whole identity is I am a farmer. I'm an agriculturalist. I do this. And it's like, yes, but that is not your purpose.
Okay. So how do you know what your purpose is?
Okay. Well, that's, how much time we got. But I mean, and this is tough too, but like also your family is not your purpose, right? Like that is that is how you express your purpose. But like, and it's a hard thing, but if it can be taken away, it's not your purpose, because a purpose is something that encompasses every aspect of our life. And so I would just challenge people, like, if you do find fulfillment in work, that's great. What else? What else? And if that's the only thing, okay, I have some work to do, right? And I think that's the fun part about life, is there's always work to be done, is if you're willing to ask the questions and look for it. So
yeah. So what's Jason Wetzler's purpose?
Straight out of Grandma Dorothy's playbook, my purpose is to make the lives of those around me better so that the world becomes a better place. And there's variations of that, but for the most part, that's pretty it.
I like it. So in doing that, Jason, like obviously you have gone through growth to get to that as your purpose and like reframing it. Like what was a key moment for you that changed things, or that started that path, or that shifting in how you want to show up in the world and who you want to be? And
my grandma calling me. So I ran for national FFA office twice. And for those that care, to go back to the blue and gold, my mom is an ag teacher. My stepdad's an ag teacher. I went to every state FFA convention from the time I was in the womb until I was 31. I mean, literally, like, it was just my whole life, a crib lined in corduroy, I like to say. When I was 10, I found out there was these people that I got to stand on stage and speak. And I wanted to do that. So everything in my life was leading to this moment. And then I didn't get elected national office. And my grandma called me and she's like, "Hey, I heard you're pretty sad." And I was like, yeah.
No
And she was like, "Well, that's like a service position, isn't it?" And I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, how you been serving people?" And I was like, "Well, I was going to do it as a national officer." She goes, "Yeah, but I meant like otherwise." And I was like, "Well, we did a philanthropy event as in my fraternity, and it was like I don't even know. Had like a yard dance and raised $500. I'm not even sure the check got cut. Like, to be honest, like, how those things go." And she's like, "Well, it's funny that you say you wanted to be serving people, but you were just waiting for a title to start doing that." And I was like, "Oof."
Wisdom from Grandma Dorothy.
Shut up, Grandma. Like, stop that. But yeah, and she was just talking, right? And so the next year, that was like a moment for me where I was like, okay, if I want something in my life and I say I'm going to do something, like, start living like that. So the next year, instead of like training for stand and delivers and, behavioral based interview questions, I just started serving people. So I signed up to serve in the Special Olympics of Oklahoma and did a couple events with them. My 21st birthday, I spent in Tulsa handing out meals to homeless people and having conversations with some friends that had that idea. And we're just kind of doing things on a day-to-day basis, trying to help make other people's lives better intentionally. And ironically enough, that year I did get elected. And I found out years later, I didn't really have the word for it, but James Clear has that a book, Atomic Habits, and he lays out, hey, a lot of us have performance goals, but we don't have the identity goal to back the behavior change. And so he says that if you have a performance goal, like get elected to this or run this many miles or lose this amount of weight or whatever it is, that's fine. But the motivation to do that will be minimal, and they won't actually tell you how to get there. But if you have an identity goal and you believe you're the type of person to achieve that, then the behavior will follow and the outcome will take care of itself. So performance goal, get elected national office. Identity wasn't there. Identity goal, hey, serve people every day, and the outcome takes care of itself. So then I'm just like, okay, the outcomes in our life are largely out of our control. What happens, we cannot control, but we can control who we are and how we express that on a day-to-day basis. And if we do that consistently enough, then the outcomes, whatever they may be, should be positive.
Yeah. So you and I grabbed drinks last night, and one of the things that is going to stick with me that you said is life is not about what we do, it's who we become. And exactly what you're saying here. And if you have a vision of the life that you want to have, life and career and success and all those things, it's less about collecting those badges or trophies or titles, but who do you become along the way? And what I hear you saying, focus on who you want to be, those things will come.
My favorite example of that is, and I'm so glad I get to tell this on recording, because I did a tour in New Mexico, and I had 12 workshops, the same workshop, 3 days, and it was about identity goals. And I tell this story, but now I get to tell it on recording. And I hope she listens. It's Betsy Hartley, one of our favorite friends from Oregon. So Betsy's story, and I may miss some of the details, Betsy, so forgive me, but she was morbidly obese. She's about 40 years old, and she went to the doctor, and the doctor said, hey, unfortunately, like, your life expectancy is pretty grim. She was type 2 diabetic on medication. And so she knew she had some changes to make. So she set some performance goals, right? Like, I know I need to lose this amount of weight, get off medication, eat better. She didn't know how to do that though, but she was like, I think I could, maybe running, right? And I know somewhere along the way, her friend Spencer came in and said, Betsy, like, if you are going to do these things, you got to believe that you're a runner. And she was kind of like laughing. She couldn't run, right? She couldn't physically run, but said she would walk to her mailbox and get her mail, then walk a little further and then jog to her mailbox. And eventually 10 years go by, and Betsy's now, because she's a crazy person, ultramarathon. She just told me she signed up for a 48-hour, 1 mile or 3 mile loop, where you just make the same loop for 48 hours straight.
That is a different level of crazy.
Psychotic. Yeah. But guess what? She's with us. She's lost all of her weight. She's no longer on medication for diabetes. And she's an incredible story of believing you're the type of person to achieve these things, even if you physically cannot, right? There's a little bit of lunacy in there, but a lot of self-belief.
Yeah. If someone is listening to this, Jason, and they are reflecting and being like, ooh, I am listening to this and hearing that maybe I need to make some changes in my own life, where do you begin?
James Clear would say 3 to 5 small action steps and do one a week. And if that doesn't work, just move to the next one, do that one for a week, do that one for a week. So I would say choose the most, which part of your house is on fire, right? And what do you feel like is preventing you from living the life most? And I would say for most of us, the easiest one to neglect is our physical health. You know what I'm saying? And I say that because there's gotten periods of my life where I did neglect it. When I got into my job, right, you feel so exhausted at the end of the day. That's the last thing you want to do, right? But then what's so crazy is after you do exercise, even 20 minutes, you feel great, right? I mean, your body and your brain are craving it. So I would say for most of us, physical health is the thing that we can all look at and be like, I could probably be a little more consistent, but it's going to be a small step, right? Betsy did not lose over 200 pounds by doing big things. The favorite part of the story I forgot to tell was that she had a bad habit of eating fast food on the way home from work. And she knew that's the type of person I am. I don't do that anymore. So she would go out, she would leave work and throw her purse in the trunk of her car and lock it and then drive home without it. She said she still sometimes found herself in the drive-through, and then would be trapped by cars and would have to tell the person, like, I'm sorry, I can't pay for this. And so she literally would have to go through the drive-through because it was just a habit. Yeah. And then, but it eventually became something. So just that is something all of us can do, is literally just lock your wallet in your trunk, throw it in the back of your truck, whatever it is. If you have a habit that you need to break, right? Small action steps daily is something we can all do. So I know sometimes it's intimidating to start to change. Also, it's November 5th, 4th, 6th, whatever. You don't have to wait till New Year's to set a resolution. You can resolve to change your life now. So, in fact, if you wait till New Year's, the stats say you're probably going to fail. So just start now, and then you have a higher chance of succeeding.
Yeah, I have found, and I'm sorry that I can't attribute who said it, but this has stuck with me recently, is a leader who talked about they can suck, but they can't skip. And so as he talked about like his physical health or the habits that he was trying to build, like I can't skip it. I have to go do it. I can suck at it. Like I can go to the gym and I can be there for 10 minutes, but like I can't skip it. And as you're like, it's like exactly, I think Betsy's story is an awesome one to ground on because like building muscle or endurance or that kind of thing, it takes time. Whether we're talking about physical health or we're talking about leadership skills or even like how do I recalibrate my priorities of spending more time at home or being more attentive with my family or gosh, I work all the time but maybe I don't have a hobby. Like it's not going to be easy, and don't try to do the big thing right away.
Yeah.
Start to do the little things on a regular basis.
I was listening to a speaker, I think it's Ryan something on Instagram. I don't remember his last name, but he said like, oh, I'd go to the gym every day. Sometimes I just sit in the parking lot, but I was there, I tell my friends I'm at the gym. And then they started expecting to hear me say I'm at the gym. And so eventually I started going inside and I'd check out the locker rooms, pretty sweet locker rooms. Then I'd peace out. Right. But like you're at the gym, right. And it's about building that discipline, that habit. And then Craig Rochelle, pastor at my church, says, you can miss one day, don't miss two, right? You can miss one day, don't miss two. So don't let things stack. And giving ourselves grace to say, hey, I missed a day, that's okay, we're starting, right? So whatever your rules are, right, your operating procedures, just try to the best of your ability stick by them, and know that if you aren't, you're probably making an excuse, and just being honest with yourself and saying like, it's just, I really didn't have time, work ran. I was like, okay, but that is an excuse. Like that isn't, it may be valid, but it is an excuse.
Yeah. And are you comfortable with that?
Yeah. And if, hey, it's up to you, no one, as an adult, no one's going to make you do anything. Right. So
yeah, that's fair. As you think about your own leadership journey and what you've been on, was it easy to make this shift? As we talk about success and like even who you want to be or the titles that you want to have or the job that you want to have versus like, okay, no, I need to shift to different definition of success, different like focusing on identity.
no, and it's still not. And I'll tell the story often about a professor in college. There's two moments, and I'll share a different one this evening in the keynote. But there was a professor in college. I was an ag leadership major, and we were doing goal setting. And I had a goal. I wrote down my goal of being a motivational speaker. I think I called it a leadership speaker, so it'd sound better. And he said, Jason, all right, listen, man, you're a white middle class male. The worst thing ever happened to you is your parents got divorced. He's like, you don't have a story to tell. Now, if you want a story to tell, I can take you in the parking lot, hit you with my car. And it's a funny moment, but like what's weird enough like that, I was like, oh, you, thanks, no, thank you. But I was like, okay, that's wild. And then, but it planted the seed in my head of like, man, yeah, maybe you're right, man. I don't have a story to tell. And literally, like, a semester later, I changed my major, and then I started like going to events like AFA, which I'm glad I went to, but I probably wouldn't have, to be honest. So there's a reason. There were some positive things that came out of it.
Yeah.
But then back and forth, and I left, I graduated, and I was like, I guess I need a job, and I just was resolved like I need to get a job now that other people view as successful. And so, yeah, that was a tough shift, and it's still something I deal with and struggle with. A lot of my friends, when introducing me to other people, and they're like, "So what do you do?" I'm a leadership speaker, and the conversation just pretty much dies there. They're like, "Okay, cool, right?" And a lot of people don't like talking about their jobs, or it's just a different thing than a lot of people have, and it's hard to describe. I call myself self-unemployed a lot because there's a lot of days where like if I didn't want to do anything, I don't have to, but that's kind of being self-employed, right, in that consultant space. And so friends at the gym, they'll be like, well, why don't you just go help set up the chairs or do this? We're like, you're doing anything. It's like there's that like so I'm constantly battling of like, hey, it's not an ego thing, I don't have to justify what I do to people even that are close to me just because they don't understand it. So it's still it's a constant shift of, hey, reminding myself that what really matters is not what other people view or how they view it. It's about who I'm helping, who I'm becoming. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think even a lot of what you said in there, Jason, a lot of people struggle with inside of agriculture of whether it's, I don't have a story to tell. Like what you were saying is like nothing traumatic has happened, of like you overcome all of this. But I think most inspiring stories are just everyday people. Like I think even what we're talking about, Jason, it takes bravery and courage to define success your own way and not the way society does. And that in itself creates really good stories of really good humans who leave a lasting impact on other people. And that impact could show up in the way like you're a motivational speaker, but like it can happen in an everyday person job too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I remember, I think back to this guy, Bob from Target, I met when I was an FFA officer. And he'd been with Target for 40 years at that point and spent his whole career with them, maybe 30 years. I can't remember, but it was a long time. And whole career with them, and he'd done everything they can. They even sent him to Harvard Business School to like get further training because like we don't have anything else for you, Bob, because he was just so hungry for growth. And as we're walking through just a Target store that we met him at, it was in like the suburbs of Minneapolis. He shouted out by name the people that were working at the Starbucks there, and then he was like greeting cashiers. And I was like, "Have you been? This is like where you started at?" And he goes, "Oh no, no, like I manage 6 states of Targets. I just try to keep an eye on people, whatever. Keep record of them." And you could tell there's just like a love for this guy. No one knows who Bob from Target is. You know what I mean? Maybe in Target, but like outside of that. And I saw his retirement post, and on LinkedIn, it maybe got like 13 likes or something. I mean, a whole career, right? Retirement post. And they're like, "Thanks, Bob," and send him off in the sunset, right? And I was like, man, but for him, that's not ever like he never was living for the likes he got on his retirement post or a plaque that he would get on his wall or the Harvard Business School associate's degree, whatever it was. He was living for the moments where he could have a catch up conversation with a cashier he'd met one time 6 months prior in the back room of the Target. And I was like, how many meaningful moments has he created with those people that will never ever be known about? And I was like, that's a successful life and a career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up too, because so one of the things I often think about, and I think this is a very weird thing that I think about it, is as I'm thinking about my career, I think about like what are the moments that show up in the retirement slideshow? And it's not like as I think about those moments and like who are the people that have been there and what are the like fun things or experiences that we had, not necessarily the big milestones of doing I'm saying this in air quotes for people who are listening, impactful things from a business standpoint, but like who are the people along the way and the relationships and the bonding moments and you know, that one night that we went and played shuffleboard and had a great time, or like those are the moments to me that I think about. And I would rather have a pile of those, whether there's photographic evidence or not of it for a retirement slideshow. Um, but I think it's a different way of thinking about a career.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, as you progress in a career, you're going to be asked to invest in people in a professional setting, right? And like hey, this person's going to be on this project with you. Make sure you give them some guidance here. But I think the people I look back on that mean the most are the ones that reached out outside of that and said, "Hey, what do you need here? How can I help you here? Do you want me to go over your speech here?" You remember Annika Tucker from Southern Oregon? She to this day will look over speeches that I'm writing because she was my state officer retirement address speech coach. Yeah, yeah. She works in the medical field down in Southern Oregon. It's like she has no need to do that, right? But because she cares and she's someone, so I don't know. And Janelle gets to work in a bigger company in leadership development, my wife, and I look at the people she's investing in and like building their skill set. Like one of her employees, Adriana, is her family's, migrated from another country, is here working, like really living the American dream. And she wanted to become better at certain things. And Janella just like has hours and hours and hours of time in Adriana and helping her develop with different computer programs. And so she has a skill set now and facilitation and leading large groups. And it's like things that Janelle is really good at, but she didn't have to do.
Yeah.
And now like that's what you're leaving behind is like all these people, like when Janelle leaves the company or if she would ever leave the company, retire or whatever, that's your legacy. And that's what like how I would define success. When I'm done speaking, how many people are saying, "Hey, because you gave a keynote here, I was kinder to my parents or I spent more time with my grandma," or whatever it was.
Yeah, or I picked up the phone and called someone or built a relationship. One of the things, everything we're talking about, Jason, is focused on people and relationships, and honestly, even being vulnerable and asking for help of people along the way. What would you say to someone who is listening, who is like maybe afraid of some of that. And a lot of what we're talking about too in building your identity, it's building confidence. And so to grow to this place where I think a lot of us want to be, you are probably starting from a place of whether it's insecurity or unsureness about yourself or fear of what if I put myself out there and I'm going to have people close to me, whether it's in my career or in my home life, say you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I think one of the things about fear, I mean, it's kept me from doing something for a long time. I'm in the process of, well, I say that. I'm in the process of writing a book that's basically compiling my newsletter into somewhat of a leadership daily devotional.
Okay. And yes, I want to hear about this, but also I'm going to plug Jason's newsletter because I don't read many email newsletters, but his is good. And it's what, 2 for you?
Yeah, 2 for you. Yeah. JasonWetzler.com. But, and so I have not done it for a long time. When I say in the process, I mean, there's like a Word document open. And it's got six characters on it. But I did not do it for a long time because I'm like, what am I writing a book about? Oh, I can barely read, what am I, I can't write a book. And so my mentor, Bo, is asking me like, okay, like, but you put a book out and people think it's stupid, then what? And you kind of just play this mental game of, okay, go down like the fear, like take that fear one step further. You're afraid someone's going to think you're stupid for writing a book because what would you have to say in a book? And then they have that thought. And then what? Well, and then probably they move on. And then you're like, well, they think I'm dumb. Like, what are the true consequences? Yeah. Right. So I would say, like, play those fears out. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Okay, if that comes true, like to the worst of it, like everyone on my Instagram DMs me and says your book is stupid. Like, if there's like literally worst case scenario, and then what? Okay, who cares? But like, if one person bought it and was like, oh wait, thanks for this book, it's great, awesome. I don't know. I just feel like most of the time it's an insecurity about what people think, and most of the time we overestimate how often people are thinking about us. Because the reality is most people feel the same way you are, which is insecure and worried about what you're going to think about them.
Well, and I think to come back to where we started this conversation and defining success for yourself based on or other people, like if you are living a life based on your own definition of success, that can help change or at least shift how you look at some of that fear, right? Because if you are really trying to measure success not based on what society thinks or what someone else thinks of you or these, I keep calling them badges, but like, these awards or whatever it may be, then that fear probably shouldn't be as big.
Right. Yeah. And that's the tough thing, right? Earlier when you asked me like when does the shift happen, I understood your question further as it went on, but I was gonna say the shift is like every day. Like I feel like a pendulum swinging every day that I have to fight of like, hey, wake up. I know today looks different than everyone else. That's okay. I know, and even people in mundane jobs and I say mundane, I'd say more relatable or explainable. Like if you have a job in sales, everyone kind of understands that, yeah. Right? Or if you have a job in marketing, people are like, okay, I generally get what you do. You're a lawyer, I get kind of what you do. Maybe you feel like it'd be better to have a different job so it's unique and something exciting to talk about. It's that constant fight, that battle of going back and forth and saying, okay, no, it's not about what they think. It's not about what they think. Like, am I doing good work? Am I doing purposeful work? Am I investing in others? Am I helping people? Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. And I think the reality is everything that we know points to if you are investing in other people, you're going to have a fulfilling life. And we get so caught up in worrying about what people are thinking that we forget to do that. So, yeah.
Well, Jason, okay, so we're going to move into a rapid fire segment. So we'll try to do.
Love it. Let me change my physical posture here.
I'll try to do quick questions. What is a leadership skill you are currently working on?
Swimming. And by swimming, I mean discipline. Swimming for me has always been a method of survival, like don't drown, Yeah. And I started swimming last year, trying to train for a CrossFit competition. I'm still working on it. I can't do the whole it's arm, breath. So I started swimming, and there was a children's swimming coach named Karma who was helping these infants not drown next to me. And she was like walking me through these same exercises the infants were doing. And I'm like, and then like a 2-year-old was like zooming by me. And I was like, well, it's because your bones are less dense. And I was like, okay, humility, discipline. So those two things via swimming.
What's one question you ask before you mentor someone?
What do you want from me? But more like realistically, hey, what do you want out of this? Right? What's your goal? What's your aim? Is this a short-term thing? Do you need help with like a skill or a task, or is this something you want to talk through often? Just having them understand what their objective is helps me help.
What's one trait you hope the next generation of ag leaders will inherit or develop?
A sense of humor. And I think we're getting back. I think my algorithms tell me I think we're back. These kids are funny. Okay. I worked with 550 middle schoolers yesterday, and they were hilarious. There's some things I can't say on camera that they were saying, but they were pretty good. Now, 6'7" is a bad joke. I just don't get it, this thing, whatever. But I'll say this. What I love about like the younger generation is if they think something's funny, they will laugh at it, right? And so, but I think as we go along, having a sense of humor about the world helps us move through it, about ourselves helps us grow and push ourselves in situations that we maybe wouldn't have. But a sense of humor would be great if everyone could just do that.
Life is more fun when you're laughing. Who is someone who's invested in you?
I've had so many people in my life invest in me. Someone I don't talk about enough that I need to is my stepdad, Win. He came in my life when I was 10. And there's one vivid memory I have. I was throwing a tantrum. I was maybe 11 years old. And I was in the back of the chapter ag truck at the county fair. And I was supposed to be helping clean the barn. And when I was running away from Win, he was like running around the side of the truck trying to grab me. And I was like screaming at him while running through the bed of the truck just to avoid him. And I'll never forget, he caught me. And he like grabbed me by the ankle and like drug me. And I was like, oh no. And I thought it was over. Like if it was my mom, she's going to strangle me. And he grabs me by the shoulders. And he just said, you are better than this. And then he breathed and he walked away. And it was the first time an adult like didn't give me what I deserved. You know what I mean? I was a hellion of a child. And I was like, man, he was just so nice. So, and from there, he's just been a part of our family's life and a pivotal part since then. So very grateful for my stepdad, Win. He showed me what patience and what real masculinity looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like gave you hard feedback, but in a gentle way.
Often. And sometimes not so gentle, but that time it was gentle.
Yeah. Sometimes we need both.
Yeah.
What is a leadership trait you think many ag leaders overlook?
I think charisma. I think charismatic people oftentimes are written off as shallow or one-sided. And I think, I'll be honest, I think people that are not charismatic are often jealous or envious of that charisma. And I think it's, I don't know, for some reason, I think it gets a bad look. Like people are fake that are charismatic. And so, or like, man, he's just schmoozing me. Like you get that a lot. You get that feeling sometimes from people. And I think we need to give people that are charismatic or super extroverted the benefit of the doubt because that's just who they are. And sometimes they're loud and can be a little obnoxious, but I think that is something that we take for granted in the industry that could use maybe some more positivity and extroversion.
That is not what I thought you were going to say, but I love that take. Okay, speaking of takes, we are going to move into the hot take section, Jason. So at AFA, we love hot takes. So what is an unconventional or unpopular opinion that you maybe have about leadership or the future of agriculture?
I think social media is going to die and that the future will not use it. And that's a hot take because we know the valuation of these companies, but I think it is going to be obsolete in 15 years. And that to me is because people have been fundamentally changed by it in a negative way. And now we see schools taking away cell phones. We see people getting these devices called bricks. And it's funny, like these products come in. So I think, how is that going to impact ag? How is that going to impact leadership, personal development? It's going to make it more human again. And we're going to we're getting more and more technology, AI, all that stuff. But man, we have AI social media profiles. We have people that are friends. Like there's people that say their best friend or companion in life is an AI bot. That is terrifying to me. So I think we're gonna put our phones away and look at each other some more. It's my hot take.
Here's what I will like add to your hot take. I will agree that I think we are in a time and we are going to grow into even more of a time where there's a premium on in-person, real human interaction, like real connection. Yeah. Because it feels rare these days.
100%. Yeah. And even when it's happening. Oftentimes and nothing wrong like with recording stuff and posting stuff, but like, when's the last time that someone just sat down and had a conversation like this and no one else knew it existed? I don't know.
I mean, I do think it happens often, but
Probably.
yeah, we are in a phase of society where hit record, document.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it can be positive. It can be good, but I think social media will be maybe not like completely gone. It just won't look the same at all in 15 years.
Yeah. Well, I think you and I talked about this last night a little bit of how you can have a very successful life, but like it may never show up on social media. Like a lot of the people that we know that we would admire or want to be like, or who have impacted us or not, maybe they're even unknowns in the wider industry, but are having a huge impact on people and on this industry as a whole.
Yep. It's a good reminder. Yeah. Yeah. My buddy Garrett, Air Force grad, Harvard Business School right now. Great dude. Never has had Instagram. Yep. And I'm jealous because I'm an addict.
You know what I love about I am too. Oh my gosh. I hope social media doesn't go away as someone who works in marketing. However, I think what we're getting to is some of the best people like you're not going to find online. Yeah. And so we can't rely just on these phones and algorithms to connect us with the right humans for where we want to go and grow in our life or where we want to go and grow in our business. It's this in-person interaction like that's going to lead us to some of those people that we never knew existed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, put time on someone's calendar for a video chat. And it's like, no, put time on someone's calendar for a coffee. You know what I mean? There's a difference. And I know it's subtle, but like show up to their house, like when someone has a kid or someone's going through something like, sermon the other day I was listening to was like, instead of calling or sending flowers, like show up to their house, just show, how it's.
There's people on the other end of this listening to it being like, never show up to my house.
Right. Don't knock on my door. Yeah. Anyways. But yeah, I mean, like, it's just, we hide. It's like, what are you selling? Who are you? What do you want? And that's so crazy to me. It was not too long ago where literally you're just like, no, it was your friend.
Well, and I think what you just said there is, what do you want? And if we can build a world where it's more like, what can I give? Then we can shift that mindset. Any final thoughts you want to leave listeners with, Jason?
I think if the thing I've been focused on more lately, because I do travel so much, is if we could start to build up our local communities more. There's people, even I know you're like, I live in a small town. There's be like building up me and my cousins. Like, it's like, I get it. Like some of us are really small town folks, but like do one thing a month that positively contributes to someone in your community where you live. That'd be great. Get to know your neighbors, contribute to community. And I think the world is going to become a better place if we do that. And that's what I've been trying to focus on this year. Is I travel so much. I was like, I need to invest where I live because I feel like it's just kind of a house, but I want to make it like that's my community. So,
yeah, I worked for a leader once who talked about taking care of his mile, like where he like you got to take care of your mile, and that's where leadership starts. And that's always stuck with me. Well, thank you, Jason. This has been fun. At AFA, we are all about building bridges and connecting people. So, where can people find you and connect more with you?
Well, until it does go away, you can find me on Instagram at Jason Wetzler, and then jasonwetzler.com. If you Google that, if you Google Jason Wetzler, it should come up. But yeah, we talked about my newsletter. I think I was challenged a couple of years ago by a mentor. He's like, you talk about personal development, leadership development. What are you actually giving to people to make them better? And I said, that's a good question. So I write a 2-minute newsletter once a week. It's free to sign up, and it comes to your inbox sometime on Tuesday, depending on when I write it. And I think it's worth reading. I tell stories, and usually there's some actionable takeaways and a fact, question, action, and quote at the end of each one. So if you want to skip to that one, it's kind of a good summation of it. But yeah, you can find that at jasonwetzler.com.
I can highly recommend it as well. But thank you so much, Jason, for taking time with us and for having such a just like open, honest conversation. I think this episode of the podcast is going to feel different, but in a good way to a lot of the other ones we've done. So thanks for teaching us and investing in our listeners. Thanks for listening to the Cultivating Leaders Podcast, brought to you by Agriculture Future of America. If you've been here before, you know we value feedback as a gift. Please leave us a review and let us know how we're doing.